So this is one of the top things that I've learned, I would say, over the last 5 years that's really helped change the quality of my life. And when I say the quality of my life, I just mean, my level of happiness, my state of self-love and self-assurance. And I know those words get thrown around a lot. I could dive in deeper to my opinion on those things and what they mean. But this is in particular a short little video on why it's really challenging if you're stuck in taking things personally. And it's really easy to say, I don't take things personally and things don't affect me and all those things. But if you are really honest, or if we're really honest with ourselves, we take things personally. That's what happens. As you grow up in our society, we learn to equate things in our lives to our ego self. That's obviously how it develops in many ways. So we equate our interests, our likes, our dislikes, our favorite everything's, and I'm going to use an example of this in a second. But we equate it all to who we are as people and our self-worth and, how we feel. And before we say, well, that's not true, let me give you an example. So this was, I think I was about maybe 22 years old. I was having dinner with some friends. And again, this was maybe just the first time I realized this was happening. It was happening my entire life, and everyone around me was also exhibiting the same characteristics. So it makes it really easy to not think that there's an issue or not recognize that some of the ways we're feeling and thinking about things are inhibiting our ability to grow, be happier, etc. So we're sitting at this table, and basically we're talking about the musical Rent, or it comes up in some way, and one of my friends is like, oh, I hate that musical, right, or whatever. He's like, that so sucks. And I couldn't believe it. I was like, this musical's great. I loved the movie too. I love the concepts. It talks about really important subject matters. It takes place in New York. There's singing, there's dancing, there's love. What could you not like about it? Now, my friend doesn't like musicals, so that's the first part. And secondly, he had a bit more nuanced sense of his own art aesthetic and what was good and bad, and obviously we're all operating from these places. But I couldn't believe that he didn't like this, and I was so offended by his distaste for something that I really, really had enjoyed watching. The first time I went and saw Rent, I was like in grade 10. A lot of stuff was going on in my life, and I thought it just dealt with some really powerful stuff that was really important. And so when he said he didn't like it, I felt personally attacked, and I'll tell you why. I felt personally attacked because it meant something to me, and it was an important time in my life. So when he was saying the things he was saying about it, even though he wasn't directing them at me, he wasn't saying them to hurt me, I felt upset. I felt personally victimized. I felt like he was basically saying he didn't like me. Now, before, obviously, we jump to conclusions about saying, again, I don't do that, or we think to ourselves we don't react like that, but I'm sure there's been times in your life, and I'll give you another example that you're probably also familiar with. You're dating somebody, and you say, we gotta watch this movie, and it's one of my favorite movies, and it meant so much to me at the time, and I watched it while my parents were going through this divorce, blah blah blah, or any of those things. And so you watch it first you don't really want to watch it as the partner. You're like, ugh, it's not really my taste. The other person starts to get a little bit insecure about that. Why not? You start to have a fight or whatever, maybe. And even if you do watch it, you feel a pressure to like it, because if you don't like it, the other person has associated their worth with liking certain things. And it's one of the reasons why in our romantic relationships we look for people who like the same stuff. Now, I can make a whole separate video on how liking the same stuff isn't necessarily a predicator to your relationship success, or how happy you'll be, or how much love there is, or any of those things, right? So tying it back to taking things personally, the reason I think this is a really important topic when we're trying to develop more self-growth and understanding is we need to let it go. We need to understand that the things that you like aren't you, and what has mattered to you in your life. And if someone you love doesn't like it in the same way, or they don't have the same reaction, or any of those things, it's not a reflection of how much they love you. And it's not a reflection of your value as a person. And it all happens very subconsciously, right? But when we find ourselves ego triggered, when we find that feeling in our chest that's like, oh, I can't believe you would say that. I can't believe you don't want to read this book I'm giving you. I can't believe, you didn't want to come to that event with me, or whatever the case may be. It's unnecessary drama. It's unnecessary. And the reason it's unnecessary is because it's all ego based. And when I say ego, I mean it's that part of you that wants to stay alive and stay alive, not stay alive living like that, but it's the part of you that wants to stay alive in how the world perceives you and how we've equated material things, or again, books and movies and culture and all of that stuff, to our own personality or our own understandings. So when we go on this journey of giving that up, when we start to not read into every detail, when we start to recognize that the love that we share with each other and the love that we share with ourselves and our ability to have positive relationships, friends, family, all those things, when we let go of the materialistic elements of it and start recognizing that we're talking about human to human connection, that we're talking about feeling valued in other ways, right? That aren't just, you need to enjoy this comedy special or whatever, right? You'd be amazed, or maybe you wouldn't be amazed, how many people are literally use that as reasons to have fights in their relationship that could be avoided. If you're sitting with someone or a friend or whatever, and you say, hey, I want to watch this movie, and they're not down, it's okay. And of course, if you feel like they're coming from a place of not being down because they always need to be right, I mean, we all need to work on things ourselves, right? But what you can do as an individual to have happier, healthier relationships and also feel better about yourself is to not remind yourself, it's okay. Cool, we don't have to watch that. What matters more than you doing what I want or you liking what I want, is that we're together, is that we're sharing space, is that we feel supported, and that we, not because of what people say and do and like, we feel supported because we're spending quality time together. I want to watch a movie because I want to watch it with you, not because the movie that we're watching directly relates to my own sense of feeling listened to and felt and all of those things. I use movie as an example because I really like movies. But this can go with anything. They don't want to go to the restaurant. You don't get to go to the dinner that you want to go to. They don't like this service at this place that you... Any of those things that you've equated with what matters to you, it's okay if that's challenged. And again, it doesn't mean people don't love you, and it doesn't mean that you're not a valuable person. And what's more important is that you're having dinner with someone who you enjoy their company, and you can talk about things that you don't agree with and you agree with, and that those things are not equators to the quality of your relationship or how much you're loved or how any of those things, okay? So I just wanted to jump on really quick and say that, and just kind of make this little post about that today, that we get really caught up in our expectations, and when those are shrouded, it's really painful. And so it's, if we want to again have better quality of life, learning how to feel full, fulfilled outside of everything material, just as you are, just as a person, just because you're you, just because you exist, you're full up, always loved, valued, and nothing that anybody says or does in terms of offending you, and now this could be a whole other thing, is equated to your worth. Now, if you are upset by something, obviously don't hide that. Mention it to the person. Hey, it really upset me when you said you didn't want to read that book, and I just wanted to just tell you that. It's okay that you didn't read it, and we're all still good, but obviously it triggered something in me and made me feel a way that I need to work on, and I'd love to know why you didn't want to do that thing or whatever. And, if they're also into communication, they'll respond too. Yeah, it's just not really my style. Or I just didn't really have the time, but I still love you and I still appreciate you, and it's nothing against you. I have this other stuff that I'm working on, and I would love to still spend time together and do stuff, but maybe just not that thing. So yeah, that's basically, hopefully that makes sense. And anytime you feel that kind of bubbling up of like anger and frustration when, someone directly criticizes something that you care about, just remind yourself that's ego triggering, and it's about, you're taking it too personally, and that you're worth so much more than that. And that it's not undervaluing you, and you're still loved fully. So hopefully you have an incredible day. It's Sunday today where I am, so that's it, and talk to you later.